How was Thrivepalooza?
It was not Thrivepalooza. It was Lifestyle Getaway,
Oh,
sir.
sorry, I'm sorry.
How was Lifestyle Getaway for those of you that went? If it was your first time, how did it feel to like be around a bunch of Thrivers and the energy that like Thrivers bring? And if it wasn't your first time, how was it too? I'm excited to hear. We were watching some stories and looking at photos, and I was like, oh, I miss you guys.
I
We
know.
were sad we couldn't be there. How was it? Pop it in the chat if it was your first time, if it wasn't your first time.
And after this, then we'll go into the training.
Did anyone go?
Yeah, a lot of people went. So, Brianna from Florida, I know it was your first time. Amazing. Thrivers be lit. Y'all know how to party. They do. They really do. I mean, like, anytime a group of us gets together, like, I know that some of like the other Thrivers from, other teams are like very intimidated or scared to be around a lot of you guys because you guys are just absolutely insane. You couldn't hang. Oh, it was B's first time too. So cool. Oh my goodness. Yes. Major FOMO for sure. Yeah, like it's a wild time, right? Like for me, I'm a pretty mild person, but I love to just like watch everyone like hang out and enjoy themselves. It's amazing. I have fun watching people have fun. Some Thrivers don't sleep in Vegas. I had to sneak away. Oh yeah, you always do. Like there's never a like good night or bye or I'll see you in a few. I got to go do something. Like they will not let you leave. I don't know how people can't sleep though. That's insane. But I mean Thrive definitely helps. I remember one time we did like a 36-hour trip to was it wasn't Miami. We did a 36-hour trip to some part in Florida to meet one of the co-CEOs. And we didn't really sleep that long. We literally just flew there red eye. And then we went to do like the cocktail party or something. And then we went out clubbing with one of Jackie's friends, like got us into a club somewhere in Miami, bottle service. Steve Aoki was throwing cake. And then we didn't really sleep and then we just flew out. So yeah, like Thrivers do not sleep and we have Thrive, we have like pure shots, right? To like keep us up or we like thrive again in less than 24 hours. Um power naps. Yes. I need my sleep. Like I cannot like you don't want to see me not sleep because I just don't function well and I'm not very nice. It's too much for me. So today today we were going to go over growing pains, right? I thought it would be a good topic to go over because I think that for a lot of us, we are always kind of sometimes in the intermediary, right? So, what is growing pains? Growing pains is where you're in the middle of being somewhere or doing something or accomplishing a goal that you have yet to accomplish. But at the same time, you're one step further than you were before, right? So, growing pains is when you're in that intermediary part of your life or of a goal. And there's a lot of growing pains, right? So, you are not the person you used to be, but yet you are also not the person you want to be. So you're kind of in the middle. And so during growing pains, like a lot of things can happen for you, right? So you may lose friends, you may lose family, you may lose people that you once valued in your life, and you also lose a part of you because to get to somewhere you've never been before, you have to be someone you've never been before. And growing pains happens, it happens with all people, it happens with all businesses, anytime and every time, right? And so we wanted to just touch on that subject today because I feel like it's something that we haven't really spoken about before, and it's something that people go through, right? Like you're trying to hit a certain goal, and in order to hit that certain goal, well, you can't really keep doing the things you've been doing before to get there. There has to be some type of mind switch, right? Like you have to grow into that person that would be the person to be able to get to that goal. And so the mindset plays such an important part during the growing pain process. And sometimes during those growing pains of like making the leaps from here to there, sometimes you lose yourself, and sometimes you also are finding yourself again, right? You're finding a different version of you, but that version has always been inside of you, and you've always known that you were meant for more and that you can make the leap. It's just really working on yourself and your mindset to be able to get to that place you've never been before. So sometimes I find that during the growing pains part, like you can either really, really excel and just deep dive and go head first and become that way, or sometimes you kind of just get lost in the sauce, right? And you see sometimes people or businesses, they don't make it, right? Or they kind of stay stagnant, or you see people and they happen to drop out in that place because that place is just so uncomfortable, because again, you are no longer where you were, but you are also not where you want to be. So you're kind of like in the middle, right? Where you have to make certain decisions on what's next, And sometimes if you don't have a partner, or if you don't have a group that's with you, helping you to keep accountable, or like asking you the hard questions, it's hard to grow, right? Because sometimes we can't see what's going on with us, but people from the outside, they can see what's going on with you. They may know where you might be stagnant and need help, and they know how to bridge the gap from here to there, right? But it's also about being very self-aware in who you were, right? Like who were you before whatever, any type of goal you're trying to reach? Who were you before XYZ, right? And where do you want to go? And can you imagine yourself in your highest self, where you want to be, how you would show up, how you would dress, how you would wake up, where you would go, what you would eat, right? Because imagining where you want to be and where you're going in your highest self, then you could start to work backwards from there, and you can actually start to implement some of those things that you feel you would want to do, you would want to be, right? It's those little subtle changes, right? So sometimes when we're setting goals, we set these really huge goals, and there's nothing wrong with setting really huge goals. But in order to get to those really huge goals, you can't be like, well, I set this goal, so I'm just going to get that goal. And then you don't have a game plan. You have no game plan. It's not broken down in actionable items. You just have this huge weight of this huge goal on you and on your back. And yet you have no way of getting to it because you don't have a game plan for it. You haven't broken it down, and you haven't taken the little steps day by day in order to become that person to be able to get that goal. And so I was listening to something the other day, and that person was talking about breaking things down into like really small habits, because we have habits, and sometimes we are actually unconscious of the habits that we have, because those habits are so ingrained in us. It's just like you rise and thrive every day, and you have these habits that you have, and you don't know that you have it. You could just kind of operate like almost robot like, right? And so breaking some of these habits and becoming mindful and conscious of the things that you're doing and the things that are no longer going to serve you, that's a really great step in order to get to that really big goal, right? Like breaking it down into actionable items. And then you don't have that huge pressure on yourself of like this really huge goal. Because every day, if you think about that really huge goal, it's like, well, how are you going to make the jump, or how are you going to make the leap if you haven't even implemented small daily habits every single day that gets you closer to that person or to that goal that you actually want to be or you actually want to attract, right? And so for me, for example, I am not like a morning person. I'm not. I just I don't do mornings, right? So every day, let's say like I get up at 7, right? 7 is like my cutoff. Like that's when I need to get up and like get the kids and go like drop them off. So what I started doing was like I was like I really want to wake up earlier because I can get more things done, because in the mornings the kids are still sleeping and I have that little time to myself, right? And so what I started doing was I was like, well, I'd love to wake up at 5, but right now if I'm just getting up at 7, like I don't really want to do that to myself and then crash, right? Because there's a certain level of energy that I need to have to maintain all the businesses, the kids, the house, and all the things, right? And so because I'm self-aware in my body, my energy, my needs for sleep, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start small. Like there's nothing wrong with starting small, because if I can't start small and I can't stay consistent in that small, then there's a problem, right? And maybe I need to scale back on that small and make it even smaller and start to stay consistent. So the first thing I did was I'm going to wake up at 6:30 every day. I'm just going to wake up at 6:30, because if I normally get up at 7 and I want to get up at 5, but I don't want to, because I'm aware in myself, my body, my energy, my needs, I know that I may burn if I just start waking up at 5 a.m. every single day and I still don't get to sleep in time to have enough sleep to be able to function properly, right? And so I just started getting up at 6:30 every day. Like I just set my alarm, woke up at 6:30, and waking up just 30 minutes earlier is so much easier than 2 hours earlier than what you're used to. And so as I started doing that, and I was like, okay, if I can stay consistent doing this for 2 weeks to maybe like 4 weeks, then I know that I've kind of like reestablished a new habit within myself, right? And then I push it back more. Okay, well, now I'm going to start waking up at 6, right? Because 6 is only 30 minutes from 6:30. And if I can stay consistent in that, then I can stay consistent in moving it back. So I'm giving you guys this example because it's a really simple example to break down, right? Like, who do you want to be? Who do you want to become? And what are the things that person does, right? What are their habits? Like, who is someone that you look up to? Who is someone that you respect and they have something that you're like, wow, I want to be like her, or I want to be like him. Like they do this every day. They show up like this every week. Well, why can't you? You totally can, right? But it's about being self-aware and conscious of the habits that they probably have for yourself to be able to implement. So that's kind of like the growing pains and how to slowly get out of being in that intermediary section.
Yeah, that's a really great concept, right? So Diane says exactly what I've been doing. 5:30 will soon be 5 a.m. Baby girl finally sleeping throughout the night. Oh man.
Yes, we are currently going through the growing pains of
Yeah.
the 15-month sleep regression. So for you parents that know about that, it's a fun one.
Exactly, yeah. Even 5-minute incremental, right? That's what I did to build up my exercise stamina during UT. 5 more minutes at each increase. That's really
Yes,
good. Yeah.
so good.
Yes.
It's always just that little bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Anything that you're doing, no matter where. So this is, let's just dial it back real quick because you're talking about like growing pains, and there is a current situation and a dire desired situation,
Yeah.
right? So there's your starting point and your ending point. And every single time you're making a new cycle, I call it cycles. So every single time you're doing a new cycle, right? There's going to be a point where you reach a wall, right? You hit a wall, or you hit an obstacle, or a trial, a test. And so life is throwing these tests at you at all times, right? The challenge though for you, especially as someone who has ambition, who is a leader, who is going after creating something different, something deeper, something bigger, whatever that is for you, your goal, your vision, your outcome, the manifestation of your reality that you want to bring forth today, right now. Guess what? It's up to you to break through that wall. Over, under, or through, you're going to make it happen, right? You have to have determined natural ambition to actually go after it, stay laser-like focused, and actually go through it, go through the ups and downs, right? There's going to be growing pains. That's what she's talking about, right? The whole entire concept of today is growing pains. And this is just to give you guys more clarity, right? More context. This is a working Zoom. This is a working episode. This is a working on you episode. Every single Fire Hour episode, you should be taking away 1%, right? 1% that is a good thing or a bad thing from you, right? When you're going through growing pains, you have to think about it this way. You are a sculptor, right? You are a statue, and you're sculpting yourself to perfection, right? That's in 2013, that's like how I learned it. I'm not kidding, I'm serious. 2013, right? When I started to learn about personal development, I learned and realized that, oh, okay, if I can build and create a life of my dreams, what does it look like, right? What kind of life do I want to paint, right? For myself, my character, like I talk about in the statue, like sculpting your character to perfection, like making sure that your skill sets are increasing. Like there is different examples of this, right? If you are familiar with personal development, if you are familiar with all these different stoic practices, if you are familiar with getting better, guess what? You are always looking at improving yourself. As a leader, that's what you do. You look at the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then you say, what do I need to improve? What do I need to let go? Right? And when it comes to growing pains, there's a lot of letting go that needs to happen. There's a lot of letting go that is involved in growing, simply because who you were yesterday, and if you're doing the work, who you are yesterday doesn't equate to who you are today if you're implementing and doing the work. Does that make sense? Right? So if you're going to go after your goals and dreams and you're looking to accomplish something bigger, something greater, something that you've never faced before, the question to ask yourself is, who do you need to become in order to achieve those goals? Ask yourself that question, right? Go inward, be self-aware. That's what Crystal's talking about, right? Self-awareness really is the key to unlocking to that next level of you, simply because it's about you. You don't put your focus on other people. If you're putting your focus on other people, you're not focusing on yourself. That's common sense. Guess what? What are we doing today to look at ourselves so that way we can improve? So that way we can chip away the things that are not, necessary for us to be on this journey towards our success, right? What character flaws do you have within that you need to improve because you want to improve it? What skill sets do you need to improve because it's going to help you get closer to your goals, right? What areas of your life, in all aspects of your life, health, your wealth, your financial, right? Your relationships, your happiness, your fulfillment. What pillars, right? What do you need to look at and let go of? And what do you need to look at and improve, right? These are questions to ask yourself, because I'm telling you again, for you to achieve what you want, you need to become someone different. The person you are today that is not going to help you get to where you want to go tomorrow. Does that make sense? Right? And especially if you have, if you're not aligned with yourself first and foremost, then don't expect much, right? Because you're going through those growing pains. You're going through those challenges. I don't know if you would agree or not, but that's like what I learned when I stepped into her life. I had to look at myself and look in the mirror and say, what do I need to change, right? How do I need to improve? Who do I need to be? How can I get there? How can I get there faster? What exactly is it that I'm looking for, right? And it starts with clarity, having that clarity for yourself. If you don't have the clarity of what you want to go to, or who you want to become, or what your vision is for your life, then how are you going to even get the directions, right? That's why that framework, the 3-step framework I created, which is clarity, direction, and speed, right? You have to have clarity first in order to get to step number 2, which is direction, your path, walking on it. And then number 3 is the bonus, which is speed, because it happens instantly, right? So, should I get her?
No.
Oh man. So clarity is everything, right? Being self-aware. Again, this is about you. If you become better, everyone else around you who observes you and surrounds themselves with you, they hang out with you, they will get better. That's leadership. That's influence. If you just work on you getting better, you become the best version of yourself, you will naturally attract the best people out there with you, right? Obviously, be mindful, read people, be self-aware, right? Understand and know the upsides and downsides of relationships, of partnerships, of everything, because it's business. But again, becoming the best version of yourself and then reflecting that out to the world, that's what you're going to naturally attract back in. That's manifestation, right? It's the law of attraction. If you don't know about the law of attraction, check it out, right? So that's something that I believe is real. I believe it's true. There's truth to it. So when it comes to all these things, again, it's just about going inward, right? The 4 agreements is another good tool to like really get really clear on yourself, right? There's many tools. The Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker, that's another tool to use. Relentless for mindset, right? Emotional Mastery, Mindset by Carol Dweck. There's so many different tools, but which one are you going to be using, right? Who do you need to surround yourself with to get to that next level? There's many great questions to ask yourself, but again, it depends on where you're going. It depends on if you're willing to even do the work. It depends on if you're even open to listening to this. It depends on if you're open to receiving this information, right? I talk about the blocks of belief, right? The blocks of belief is where you always are, you have your guard up, right? You have your guard up, your shield. You're blocking information. Well, guess what? If you're not coachable and you're blocking information from you receiving it, then how are you going to get the downloads? How are you going to get the knowledge, the information, the evolution? How are you going to get better, right? If you're not willing to be coachable, if you're not willing to humble yourself, if you're not willing to be a student, right? To have that mindset and the mentality of being able to say, you know what? This person has something that can offer me help, whether I like them or not, or whether they know it or not. Well, guess what? Right? This person has 1% gold that I'm looking for. They helped me get that one piece of the puzzle that I'm missing, and I'm adding it to my stack. That's something that I've been facing recently, right? I've been facing a lot of criticism lately, just because, again, when it comes to manifesting something big, something grand, something huge, there's going to be all those little criticisms that come at you. There's going to be the trials and tribulations, the tests. There's going to be opinions thrown at you. There's going to be all these oppositions going at you. Guess what, though? I learned the secret. I learned the secret of how to face all that. Do you guys want the secret? For me, this is what really helps me, okay? It's about frameworks. It's about mindsets, about concepts. It's about humbling yourself. I had to humble myself in those moments. Imagine getting thousands of criticisms sent to you. Imagine getting hundreds of DMs sent to you, filled with in the lens of negativity. You're looking at through a negative lens because the ego, right? There's a really great book called The New Earth. If you have not read that book yet, because you just haven't heard about it before, or because it's too heavy to digest, to understand, well, guess what? That's self-awareness right there. That's you working on your mindset. That's you working on being open, more open-minded, open to receiving new information, new beliefs, new patterns, new recognitions. So guess what? For me, The New Earth, I learned how to tame the ego, and I'm still doing that. I'm still in the process of growing. Those are my growing pains. Well, guess what? Every single time I receive a criticism, my ego, right? The ego flares up. The pain body flares up. And it's like, oh, the shield's back up. The shield's back up. Well, guess what? Because I'm self-aware that I have the ego and the pain body. There's 2 different entities, the ego and the pain body. Guess what? When it comes to me realizing that my body, the body is activated, the body is reacting. It's not me that's reacting, it's the body, right? If you don't understand what I'm talking about, you got to read The New Earth, okay? But I encourage you all to keep an open mind today, because this is about growing pains. If you really want to grow, right? If you really want to grow, just tell yourself, I am ready, right? Tell yourself, I am ready to grow. And you can tell yourself that internally. Tell yourself that it's ready. You're ready. The New Earth is by Eckhart Tolle.
Eckhart Tolle.
Yes. Yeah. He has some really, really powerful books in terms of the inner work.
Yeah.
So
The last name is spelled Tolle.
Google. Use Google.
Yeah,
Don't be helpless.
because
Use Google.
when we say it, sometimes it's hard to like decipher how to spell it. So
Google.
Eckhart Tolle.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, for me, like one of the tools that I learned, grab it today. Excellent. Yeah, it's so powerful.
I did the audio. The first time I
did the
actually
audio.
downloaded the audio, I was like, I have no idea. And I was just like falling asleep because it was just a little too slow for me. I wasn't there yet, right? Like there's that saying, there's that quote that when the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? Because you can listen to something 10 times and you're like, nope, not having it, not listening, whatever, whatever. And then maybe the 10th time or the 20th time you hear it and you're like, oh my goodness, I finally get it now. I can finally receive that information. And then sometimes you're like, oh, it took me so long to get it right. But that's okay because you kept trying, you kept at it, And I think the second time around, which was years and years later, then I picked it up again and I listened to the audible and I was like, this is gold. Like I finally understand it now and I'm not falling asleep while I'm listening to it because there's so much information in there that I can finally understand and digest and use to be able to help myself to grow into another person, right? And so speaking of the ego during the growing pains, sometimes people think ego is like, oh, you're like, you act too confident or like you think you're better than everyone and like that's ego, right? And yeah, that is ego, but also another form of ego actually, which was what surprised me, was insecurity. I didn't know like that insecurity is also a part of ego, right? Because when you're insecure, it's like you put yourself in this victim mode, right? Like you're in this victim mode and you kind of have like this blame game going on where you're like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm this, or I'm that. And you're just like constantly putting yourself down. That's actually another form of ego. And it's like the opposite of being too confident, right? So that's something that I learned. And so sometimes it's like we have to like check ourselves, like we have to be mindful and like, hey, like, maybe every hour on the hour, you're like checking yourself, like what's going on in between my ears, like what's going on in my mind. And at times when the ego is starting to like go this way, go this way, go that way, what helps me is putting on something positive or putting on something that's going to distract me, that's actually going to help educate me and help me actually go towards my goal. Because I think that as humans, we're so programmed to look at the negative, to watch the negative and go into this downward spiral, right? And that's why I think most of us don't watch the news. We don't watch the news because what do you usually see on the news? You don't see all the great things happening out there in the world and all the good things that like your everyday person is doing. You hear about all the negativity, all the drama, all the things that are really, really sad, right? And it's not to say that those things are not going on, but at the same time, it's like, do you want to feed your mind with that every day? Because that will consume you and that will be the only thing you see. And when you walk on the street, that's the first thing you're going to look for is like, what's the sad thing? What's the bad thing that's happening? As opposed to like, what's the great thing that's going on today? Like maybe it's the weather that's great. Maybe it's like the air that feels fresh. Maybe it's that person across the street that looks happy, that makes you happy, right? So what goes on in between your ears in your mind is so important as you're going through those growing pains, because you recognize that you are no longer who you are, right? So you're starting to get uncomfortable stepping out of that, because most of the time it's so much easier to be in pain and to stay uncomfortable until we get to a point where it's too much pain that we're like, this is too painful, I don't want to do this anymore, like this is gross, I need to like move on, right? And then you take that step into the unknown. You take that step into the place where now you're forced to grow, right? Like it's either you go back or you move forward, right? But if you consider yourself you have already taken that step forward, why go back, right? Like burn that bridge to the old self and to the old way of being and get comfortable being uncomfortable, being conscious and asking yourself, questions, right? Like one thing that helps me and that I feel like helps people is asking questions, because sometimes we don't ask ourselves enough questions, and we don't ask people that are within like our home, or maybe our friends that are outside of our home but are close to us and that really actually care about us, these questions like, hey, I'm doing this and I want to do that. What do you think are maybe some of my habits that I could possibly change, right? And then it's allowing the ego to take a step back, to take a seat, and just to be ready to hear what someone that actually really loves you, cares about you, wants to see you win has to say, right? Because sometimes they're watching you and they're like, how is this person going to go from here to there? But yet they're still like doing these same things, right? And
Yeah.
so it takes a really big part of yourself to say, I want to grow, I want to be better, I know there is better and I'm not there yet, but I know I have the capability of being that. So it's having the ego take a huge seat back and saying, hey, you know me better than anyone else, you watch me every day, or maybe you watch me here and there. These are some of the goals that I have. So how, like, what do you think that it is that I'm missing that I'm not seeing, right? And maybe that person tells you directly. Maybe that person asks you questions so that you can ask yourself, because honestly, internally, we all have the answers that we seek.
Yeah.
But it's about quieting the mind. And when you quiet the mind, you allow the ego to take a seat back, right? So you're not overconfident in what you're saying, but you're also not underconfident. You just are, right? You just are observing. You're an observer of what's happening. And I feel like sometimes that helps, is like asking yourself questions, or asking other people questions, or really taking the time to listen to what other people say. And sometimes not what they say is truth. It may be just their truth, but if you feel some type of way about what they said, then maybe there is some truth to it that you feel uncomfortable with, but you need to explore without judgment on yourself or judgment on the other person, right? Like it's about getting better. And during the growing pains, like you become a leader of your own life, right? You become this leader who's like, I can take a step back, I can listen, I can hear what other people are saying, and I can actually digest it and just be like, maybe they are right. Okay, let's just assume they are right. Okay, so what can I do to get better?
Yeah.
How can I do things to, to become better, or to, not have that type of criticism like fly at me, right? And so as you start to, again, blame yourself and take accountability, then you start to grow as a person, right? You start to grow as a leader. So although things happen, or people say they're going to do certain things and then they don't do it, and you can easily just be like, well, you said you were going to do this and then you didn't do that, so that's your fault, right? But it's like, how many times does that keep happening until you're like, you know what? The first time it happens, like, shame on you for not like being a person of your word, right? The second time, the third time, whatever, after the first time, those things happen again and again. Guess what? It's your fault. It's your fault because it already happened once. It happened twice. You allowed it to keep happening. At some point, you have to take accountability, because you are the leader of your own life, right? And these are your growing pains and your lessons. How long do you want to grow through this pain and keep learning the same lessons you've already learned before, right? How many times? At some point, you got to blame yourself and you got to say, you know what? If they said this and they didn't do that, and I kept listening and listening and listening, but the actions show differently, at some point it's your fault. Why is it your fault? Because you should have known better. You should have known better. You should have done better. You are the leader of your own ship. So don't allow someone to drive your ship and be like, well, it's your fault. We didn't get here because you said you were going to do this and you didn't follow through. Well, then you obviously know that person is not capable, doesn't want to, or just can't do it, right? So then you need to, again, take over your own ship and sail your own ship until that person figures it out, right? At some point, the accountability has to lie on you. It's so easy to blame others for why something happened or didn't happen, but it's much harder to actually look at yourself and blame yourself and be like, you know what? this person said they were going to do this, but I already started seeing the little hints that they probably weren't going to follow through. But instead of me saying, okay, like, I'm just going to take it over, I'm going to figure it out, you just kind of still allowed it to happen, right? And then once it happened, you're like, oh, well, it's their fault. No, it's your fault. You saw the hints, you saw the signs, believe what you saw and not what they said, and take accountability for your own actions, right? Like, we're all adults here, right? We have to take accountability for the things that we do, the things that we don't do. And when someone says they're going to change or they're going to do this and that, and they don't, and you believe them over and over again, at some point, can you blame them, or can you blame other people for not telling you that that's how they are? No, you got to blame yourself. Like, it's you're an adult, like, and when you take accountability and you take the blame, you actually start to think differently and you start to be more solution driven.
Yeah. And let's like replace the word adult with leader, because there are children who are leaders, right? There are kids who are leaders, right? Depending on, because age doesn't matter. It's about the being, the self. It's about the wisdom, the experience, the knowledge, that individual person. So every single person, whether they're a child or adult, they are a leader, right? And so season 3, episode 9, the title is Leaders Blame Themselves. That's a 5-hour episode. Leaders blame themselves. And there was a lot that you were, uncovering, and I want to for sure go off the comments as well. But the secret that I was mentioning earlier is it's a reframe. It's a framework. So the concept is, whenever you're receiving criticism, this is what has helped me after going through all these battles. Whenever I've received criticism, instead of me receiving it as criticism, where the ego and the pain body flares up, the shield goes up.
Yeah.
Instead of it being like that, I look at it as, oh, that was just another puzzle that I was missing.
Yeah.
And it's thanks to the people who are giving me the criticism.
Yeah.
That they're giving me those puzzle pieces now. This has allowed me to forgo the ego and pain body, because now, instead of me going in opposition, instead of me like fighting like their opinion, their beliefs, I'm looking at it as an ally now. I'm like, oh wow, like, you're on my side. You're giving me information. You're sending me the information I need. I've been looking for those puzzle pieces, and now you just help me get that one step closer to making sure that the puzzle locks up. Does that make sense? Right? So that right there helped me so much. That was when I was thinking about it. I was looking at the ego, the pain body. I was like, oh my gosh, like, why is this happening to me? Why am I getting attacked? But it's because I reframed it. It's not an attack. It's an ally. It's helping me get better. It's helping me solve the puzzle. Okay? So if you, as a leader, you're surrounded with other people, they're consistently giving you feedback. They're giving you criticisms. They're giving you information, right? We have to reframe all the words, label everything differently, label it to empower yourself. That's how you do it. Guess what? Now you're able to take all that information and receive it, because your ego, the ego and the pain body, the guard is lowered. Now it's you. You're being more conscious. You're being more self-aware. You're being open to receiving. Now you're a student. You're truly being a student, right? One thing that really helps, what Jackie said, you got to stay centered.
Yeah.
Right? You have to stay centered. I've never read any of his books, but literally, it's the one thing that throughout history, the principles and philosophies, right? Stoicism, staying centered, right? There's a hurricane and you're in the middle. You're in the eye of the hurricane, right? That right there, that's how you have to face life. And especially for men. Men, if you have a man in your life, right? For the women here, if you have a man in your life, guess what? If that man is not centered, what happens to your life? What happens to your mind? What happens to everything in your life?
Yeah, you're not centered either.
Exactly.
Because you're put in like a survival mode, as opposed to feeling that you have like that protection and that safety, right?
Yes.
And also, like, as you were talking, I was like, it's like that quote, like, we have friends that have helped us through our relationship, through our life, through our growth and spirituality and meditation and stuff. And they were like, iron sharpens iron. And so it's like what you were saying, how it's like, as opposed to receiving maybe things that aren't really the best things to hear about yourself or about certain situations that you were the lead in, consider it like feedback, constructive criticism, where it's like, hey, I think that it could have went better had we done this and that, right? But obviously you still have to decipher for yourself based on your experience and knowing who you are, knowing who they are and their experience, if what they're saying is, true, if what they're saying is factual, right? But in order to actually determine that, your ego and your emotions and yourself, you need to stay centered and checked, right? Like,
Yeah.
so you come from it from like a logical point of view as opposed to an emotional one, right? Because our emotions can send us into turbulence. And anytime you make decisions that are emotional, most of the time you make bad decisions, right? So they often say, like, if you get into a fight with someone or like something's happening that's chaotic, like, take some time to let things cool down before you make decisions, especially before you make decisions that can be permanent in the heat of the moment, right? And so, yeah, going back to that, I just wanted to like share that because that has helped me sometimes. Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah. And then also, it's what you were talking about earlier too. It's about asking for feedback from the people that you're closest to or that you trust, your circle, right?
Yeah.
There's Charlie Munger, the billionaire. He says, make a war with a multitude of counselors. That basically means that you surround yourself with an advisory board that has your best interest and also understands where you're going. They understand your vision, your dreams, your goals. They are fully here for you. They are here to support you. That is when you have a tight circle like that, where there's no infiltrations, there's no oppositions infiltrating, there's no wolf in sheep's clothing, there's none of that stuff. Guess what? Now that's a very powerful group to be in. That's a very powerful circle to associate with. That's a very powerful mastermind that you have. Fire Hour serves as that one of those masterminds for you, right? It's one of the circles that you are able to lower the guard, open your mind, lower the shield, and start to realize that, you know what? It's possible. Anything I want in my life, it's possible. Anything I want to manifest, it's possible. Anything who I want to become, it's possible, right? Whatever challenges you're going through, you can share it here. Whatever questions you have, you can share it here. That's the mastermind effect right there. That's the mastermind effect, the mastermind principle. It's being able to have those circles, those trustworthy circles, those fiduciary circles where you're able to open up, you're able to grow through the growing pains, you're able to become your authentic self and be able to let it all go, right? And then from there, break through all the constraints, the trials, the tribulations, the challenges, the chokeholds, everything, and then get to your next level, right? Where I live and grew up, that's a very hard group to find. So, find your place, find your circle, right? Find your group. Well, guess what? Like when it comes to what you were saying too, like the blind spots. I remember in 2017, when I stepped away from a dream career and I went into entrepreneurship full time. No plan B. Just quit my job. I was making like 80,000 a year, quit the job, no plan B, no income. And guess what happened? From there, I literally just said, what am I going to do? I had no idea. But one of the things I did was I decided to create an online course. I created my very first online course that I sold online. And I had one of the exercises that I had to do was I had to find out what are my strengths and weaknesses, but not from myself. I had to ask for feedback in my circle. So I had to find 5 people that truly understood who I am, knew where I was going, knew me at best though, knew my personality, knew my skill set. They've been in the trenches with me, etc. And I asked them, like, what are if in your opinion, honestly, like, don't hold back. What do you think of me? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And then I gathered that information. So they gave me the bad, they gave me the good. And from those, I selected the top 5 strengths. And then that helped me decide, all right, where is my circle of my circumference, right? Where is my boundary of rationality? Where is my strengths lie in? And how can I help the world? Because in business, it's about providing an idea that is not only profitable, but it will help other people, will make an impact, will actually solve a problem. So for me, in 2017, I created a sales course, right? And that's because of the feedback I got. The feedback was leadership. My strength is sales, persuasion, marketing, and I think operation. I forget the other one.
Your persuasion.
Yeah, that was the
That's what
persuasion
you
one.
got me.
But that was feedback. Okay, that was feedback from people, my peers, my group, my inner circle. And then from there, I said, all right, I'm just gonna go with it. I'm just gonna run with it. Right. I obviously evaluate myself though too. Am I capable? Do I have the confidence to do it, etc. But guess what? I just did it, and then in 1 week's time, 7 days, I launched my online course, my very first one, and boom, made it happen. But that's how fast. That's it. When you're surrounded, that's the point. Okay, the point of this story is you need to find your circle. You need to find your group, your inner circle, your mastermind, the ones that are the 5 people. Right? Remember they say who you associate with is who you become. You are the average of the 5 people that you hang out with the most, right? There is another book I highly recommend. I just started it like a week or 2 weeks ago, and it's called The Self-Made Billionaire Effect. Okay. In that book, it talks about how who you are, like from growing up all the way through to your career, etc., but who you are in the process. I really hope I'm referencing the right book because I like juggle like several books at the same time. But who you are in the process, okay? You're always, as a baby, okay? When you're a baby, you're observing everything, right? Devin, she's observing everything. The other day, Bella and Caitlin are like, Bella is like,
Roughhousing.
Bella is jumping on Caitlin and like slapping her and then screaming at her, okay? Jumping on her, slapping her, screaming. That same night, it's at nighttime, it's like 7 p.m. Devin, all of a sudden, jumps on Bella, slaps her, and screams at her.
She literally, and Devin has big hands. Like Devin has my hands and my fingers. So when she slaps, it is seen. It was like the slap that was seen across the bed in the dark. She like slapped Bella and like pushed her down and like jumped on her and was like, ah, like at the top of her lungs. And I was like, oh my God, where did this come from? And I was like asking him, I was like, did you just see what she did?
Yeah. And it's just
and
because
then he told me, he's like, well, do you know what the kids were doing today?
Yeah, exactly. I really hope it's the right book. But
It was insane.
it's because literally like this is what I learned, right? From one of the books I was reading. I'm pretty sure it's a Self-Made Billionaire Effect, but it's about like who you associate with, right? Who you are associating with. Because it's imitation. Okay. That's what they talk about. It's imitation. Who you surround yourself with the most is who you observe the most. And who you observe the most is who you act like. Okay. It's who you become. It's who you imitate. And so, for example, if you are in a room, the 5 closest people to you, if they are all broke, they're not making money, the 5 people, what are you imitating? What are you observing? What are you seeing? Right? Wait. Imagine being if you're on your financial game, your path, you're like you have goals and vision to become a billionaire, for example, or millionaire, whatever that number is for you. If you surround yourself with 5 people on a daily basis that are millionaires or billionaires, are you observing their actions? Yes, you are. Whether you like it or not, you are observing the actions, right? It's environmental exposure. It's people exposure. Guess what? If you surround yourself with successful people, 5 people every single day, successful, you're imitating, you're observing, you're copying what they're doing. No matter what, guess what happens? Guess what happens? You naturally start to become like them. Especially if you're not self-aware, especially if you're not really conscious, you're not being mindful, okay? But again, that's the positive and negative, right? There is the good and the bad of that. As a leader for yourself, if you want to get to the next level, who do you need to surround yourself with, right? That's the next book literally on your list. It's worth it. Like I'm still going through it. I'm juggling different books because I'm trying to capture all the gold, right? I'm applying it to my life. But this book right here, The Self-Made Billionaire, because for me, one of my aspirations is to make as much money as I can to take care of my family, my kids. Okay, that's one of my aspirations. For me, I already know that that's associated with making money. Okay, so if I'm going to go after that goal, then who do I need to become in the process? Who do I need to become? How do I need to act? What do I need to do? What do I need to learn? Right? What do I need to let go of? Right? So guess what? That's why I'm doing that. Okay. So again, there's many different lessons in this. Sarah says, I can never let go of my poor friends. Let me share with you something. I thought that I had to let go of my poor friends. Well, guess what? The truth is you don't have to let go. You don't have to let them go.
Yeah.
Don't let them go. Okay.
Yeah.
That just because they are poor friends doesn't mean that they are bad people, right? If there are people that you don't want to associate with anymore because of whatever that that reason may be, then that's a decision that you make for yourself. But again, that's the beauty of making, right? That's the beauty of making different circles. The beauty of associating with different people. The
Yeah.
beauty of making new friends,
Yeah.
right? So thank you for sharing that. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like don't let people tell you you have to let go, okay, of your friends. Like
Yeah.
it's not true. Just make new friends. Like
Yeah. And then what I want to add to that is like, you know, it's just your friendship with certain people change as you grow as a person,
yeah.
right? Like, but it doesn't mean you have to let them go. Like, if there's things you guys still have in common, you guys still have a great time, and, you know, like you still have love for each other, by all means, like be friends, you know, like from what I've noticed in my journey is that there are some friends that I let go of, and there was nothing bad. It was just that I've become a different person and my values are no longer the same as theirs, and we're going on different paths, right? Like people grow apart, and that's okay. For me, I could still have love for people. I could still have love for our past, but if our past and our history is the only thing that we have to talk about, then it's not really propelling me anywhere forward, right? Like, how many times can I talk about what happened 10, 20 years ago and what we did 10, 20 years ago, right? Like we can't just get together once or twice a year to talk about what happened 10 to 20 years ago, right? Like we could if you wanted to, if you wanted to like, you know, do that. But for me, I've noticed that it's not like I was like, okay, well, you're this and I'm that, or you're this and I'm trying to go here. So bye. No, it actually happened very gradually, right? And for some friends, I'm still friends with them, right? But it's like we don't see each other that often. But when we see each other, we catch up on everything that's happened in life. And from there, like we move on, right? Like for me, my time and my energy is very important. And how I spend my time and energy, like I can't get that back. So if I have a goal and doing this or doing that or hanging out and talking about all the things that happened 10, 20 years ago, if it's not helping me grow as a person, it's not helping me get towards my goal, then obviously I'm not going to want to spend my time there as much, right? And so sometimes a part of the process, you will change, you will grow, you will start to see that maybe you used to hang out with someone every day or every weekend, but no longer is, you know, that actually being an advantage towards your personal growth, right? So you never have to let go of people that you've outgrown, but your relationship will change and the amount of time you spend with them may be less, right? And what I've noticed for me is that when I started making shifts and I started hanging around people that I wanted to become or had skill sets that I really liked, that I wanted to learn more of, that's where I find my time most enjoyable, right? Like now sometimes when I'm around different crowds, I'm not as mentally stimulated. And so when I'm not as mentally stimulated, I'm not as interesting to them and they're not as interesting to me. And I check out quickly, and I don't mean to be rude, but I'm just like, what am I doing here? Where could I be? What could I be doing? And I have this huge goal in front of me. Is what I'm doing right now getting me towards that goal? If no, then like I have to like check myself, right? Because for me, when I was growing up, I was very poor, right? And I went from poor to millionaire in, you know, in 33 years. How did I do that? I had to be laser like focused. So while all my friends were going out, hanging out, buying this, buying that, buying cars, buying clothes, going to events, spending money, buying food, buying all the things, going out, I was like, I can't do that. Like, I can't drive the nice cars. I can't have all the nice clothes. I can't wear a new outfit every single event I go to and not wear the same clothes that I had before, because that's me spending money. And when I'm spending money, I'm not accumulating or saving money. And if I'm not accumulating or saving money, then I can't make my money grow for me. And I have to constantly work for my money as opposed to my money working for me. Right. And so that is painful. But if you hang around a bunch of friends that spend a bunch of money and that are always like, I need to look this way, I need to present myself this way, well, what's their net worth? What's their bank account? Because I guarantee you their net worth and their bank account may not be what shows on the outside, right? So there are difficult decisions that you have to make in order to grow to become someone you've never been before. And you have to constantly check yourself. Like, what am I doing? Who am I surrounding myself with? What is my goal again? Is this getting me closer to my goal, or is it not getting me closer to my goal, right? And it's whatever you want. It's what you want, right? But you have to ask what you want, and then you have to check yourself and ask yourself questions, right? A lot of questions. And there are sacrifices to be made. But when you start to make those sacrifices, you start to say no. You start to say, you know what? I don't care if I drive a beat up car and you're in your nice new fancy car, because I know what I'm doing. I know where my goals are, and I know what I want to do, and I know what I need to do to get there. So again, it's keeping the ego in check. It's checking that ego to be like, you know what? I could look a certain way so I could be around a certain crowd, but I'm not trying to look that way and go broke looking that way. I'm trying to be able to actually sustain a lifestyle like that while still keeping my net worth, what my net worth is at, right? And so sticking to your goals, asking yourself questions, checking yourself, and looking at your surroundings. And by no means is it like, well, I can't, be friends with this person. You can still be friends with that person, right? But it's just, you often also have to be working on yourself and your goals, and recognizing and remembering who you are, right? Remembering who you are at your core and what you want, right? And that takes a huge set of like discipline, right? Like when I'm seeing people spend money, like just like it's like water, but yet, they're still suffering,
Well, yeah, but like just to add to that, right? It's important to know your own financials first, right? Because this is you're talking. I think that you're referencing like comparison, right? Comparison is the thief of all joy, right? So you have to, for you, like like to me, this is a big takeaway. You have to stay in your own lane, okay? If you see other people spending the money, you don't know what's happening behind closed doors, right? If they want to spend the money, great. I don't care. I personally don't care. I just care about what I'm going, my lane, right? Because if you on your lane, your path, you're making money and you're spending the money, right? Well, guess what? Maybe like you came from a place where money was something that you really wanted to accomplish and you finally achieved it, and now you deserve it, right? You earned it, so you deserve it. Now you're spending it. Now you're living the life that you always dreamed of. There's people out there who are doing that, right? There are people who are broke, right? Same exact situation. They were broke once, and then they went through the growing pains, achieved their goals, became who they needed to become in order to achieve their goals, their reality, their vision. And then from there, now you're seeing their life, okay? Guess what? Use that as inspiration for yourself, right? When you get to this is like, there's this quote. They say like, never meet your heroes, right? Never meet your heroes because they'll let you down. Well, that's just a quote, okay? Because I've met a lot of great people, and I've also met people that were not so great. And regardless of what their life looked like, at the end of the day, when you really connect with someone deep inside, deep inside where you touch their heart, you really see the true self. You see who they really are, okay? And so everyone is here on their journey. Everyone is here going through the ups and downs. Whether people are super rich and wealthy and they're living a lavish lifestyle, or they're super rich and wealthy and they're not living a lavish lifestyle, that's their journey. That's their path. For you, what is your path? What does it look like for you? What do you aspire to do? What do you hope to achieve? What do you want to feel? Who do you need to become to do it, right? So, there's a lot, right? There's a lot with it. But again, the ego, the pain body, the new earth, use those tools to start to really look at yourself, right? Look at who you need to become in the process. If you are truly doing the work on yourself, if you are here on Fire Hour, you're truly doing the work on yourself, you're going to pick up the tools and you're going to work on yourself. You're going to chip away on that sculpture to perfection. You're going to chip away the character flaws. You're going to chip away all the things that you need to let go of in order for you to break through to achieve the next level. And then again, repeat the cycle. Okay. So this was a very valuable topic. I think that especially for those who go to an event, right? You're immersed in an environment where there are all types of people. There are people who are successful. There are people who are just beginning their journey. There are people who are going through trials and tribulations. There are people who are going through breakthroughs, and they're going through breakdowns, and they're going through breakups, and they're going through, like, internally. They're like looking at themselves, they're reflecting. They're like, damn, like, I see them. I see that person successful on stage, or I see that person speaking on the mic, or I see that person that they're crying tears of joy, or they're crying because they went through something, right? You're observing all that in a big environment. You're observing all that when you're getting yourself in those rooms, in the conferences, in the lifestyle getaways, in the events. You're any mastermind or effort or any room that has energy in it. You are observing all that. You, at the end of the day, though, it's about you and your path and who you are going to be in the process. Whatever you're growing through, right? Whatever you're going through is what you grow through. So you are growing through all of this. And if you, and I highly encourage you to do so, if you are being intentional with your path, with dominating it, with getting to that next level for your life, when empowering yourself, chipping away at your perfection, your flaws, your everything, inside within, the best project you'll ever work on. You're doing the work. If you are truly a student and you are committed to your vision, realizing it, manifesting it, bringing it forth into reality, believing in it, that it's possible, then you will really start to do the work. You'll really start to put forth the energy towards going a little bit further, stepping into the fear of the unknown, going past your comfort zone, going after the things that you need to do, talking to those people that you never talked to because you were scared a little bit, and now you're ready to do it. You're just taking action. You're here to do it. You're here to step up, to get to that next level, to raise your standards, to raise your belief, not only in your goals, but within yourself. Once you do that, you step into who you need to be, and automatically it happens. Automatically, everything starts to come. Automatically, you start to live the life that you truly want, whether it's full of wealth or not, whether it's financial wealth or not, fulfillment or not, whatever that is for you. Again, this is about you. This is about your journey. This is about who you want to become, who you want to surround yourself with, what you want to have, what you want to be, who you want to impact. This is about your journey. How many cycles are you going to do? How many cycles are you going to make in this lifetime? How high and how big do you want to go in life? As far as we know, we have one life to live, right? So guess what? Let's make it the best life possible, all right? With that being said, it's 7:05. We're going to wrap up. So again, many different tools, right? The Self-Made Billionaire Effect, The New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, Peter Drucker's Managing Oneself, right? The Four Agreements. That's such a good foundational book to go over. The Mastermind Principle, Read, Think, and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, right? Outwitting the Devil, to make sure that you're staying within your center, making and feeding the good person on the shoulders, not the bad one, right? There's many different tools. Which one are you going to use? For the men in the room, The Way of the Superior Warrior, The Way of the Superior Man. Guess what? Read that book. All right. That book. Oh my gosh.
Have you been reading that?
The Way of the Superior Man. Okay. That one's a fire book for every single man on the call. Every single man. Whoever's a man, read the book. All right. Whether you're in a relationship or not, read the book. Okay. This is, and it's so crazy. I wish I heard about this book before. It's a spiritual book. All right. It's a book of going within. That right there, it might go over some people's heads. It might not. Regardless if it does, regardless of any of the tools, if the tools are too heavy to understand, read it anyways. Pick it up, put it on your shelf, put it somewhere. Get an audible, okay? Go to our website, the book list. I'm constantly evaluating. I'm always adding. Every single week, I'm picking up new books because I'm going through books like this. I'm like, I need to get the goal. I need to get the goals. I need to get the knowledge. So I'm adding to the list every week. Every week you'll see a new book there because that's what I'm committed to getting better. As a leader, I'm committed to chipping away everything. I'm letting go of the things that no longer serve me. I am looking at myself, okay? I am working on myself every single day. Today, I went to sleep at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. I woke up at 4 a.m. I'm fired up. Why? Because I already know where I'm going. Regardless of the sleep or not, I don't care. I'm ready to freaking crush it. I'm here to dominate my path. I'm here to change lives. So let's do this, okay? Jackie asked which one. Sorry. I went like this, and I'm like, The Way of the Superior Man. The Way of the Superior Man, okay? There's many books. There's a list, all right? Last book for guys, The Way of the Superior Man. Get it? This is a book for men, okay? This is a book for men. You don't, if you want to read it. But for all you guys that have husbands or boyfriends or, a relationship with a man, go get them to read this book if they haven't already, all right? If they really want to step their game up, right? They want to be like that. They want to be the purpose-driven man, that purpose-driven warrior for their woman, for their mission. Guess what? They need to read this book, all right? So, but that's a side note. Are these books on our site? Yes, they are. Every book that I read or that I have read is going to be on the site. I've read a lot of books, so I'm still adding it when I have time. Every single week, I add books. I'm reading 4 books right now. I'm revisiting another book. Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson. That book is fire. I read it. I listen to audibles. Okay, remember the hacks. If I do 1x, 2x, 3x, it's because I'm able to understand it myself. That's my path. It's a skill. For me, the Curtis Jackson book, 50 Cent's book, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter, right? That book I finished in 8 hours because it's fire. I couldn't put it down. Okay. And this is me doing everything else I gotta do. This is me working on all the businesses, the nonprofit, this is working on myself, taking care of the kids. I'm still listening. I'm still doing the work. Okay. I'm committed to doing it. It's on my list. Currently rereading 4 Agreements. Yes. Highly recommend that book.
Yeah, the 4 Agreements. That's like an annual book to check yourself.
100%.
An annual book.
Yeah. In any given moment, we have 2 options: to step forward into growth or to step back into safety.
Yep.
Sending you all love.
Yep.
Thank you. That is
So
gold.
powerful.
That is
so
gold.
Powerful.
For those that like audio, I just found the 4 Agreements audiobook on YouTube. Yes. Yeah, there's YouTube.
Yeah.
Use all the tools. YouTube, if you don't want to pay for whatever, right? There may be free tools on YouTube, okay? For me, I used to use YouTube. I still use it, but I also do Audible now because I'm just juggling so many different things.
Yeah,
So
there's certain things that you couldn't find, but
Yeah.
most of the time, like if we can find a free resource on YouTube, we always do. We always still revert back to like being resourceful as possible. Like
Yeah.
if you lose your resourcefulness, then like it's going to be harder as you navigate through business and you're going to make a lot more costly mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for those of you who want the website, resurrectionmedia.com/books. And I'll put it in the links in the YouTube channel. But other than that, we're gonna just, there's a list of books, and I only put the books that I found valuable for myself. I don't put the books that I read that were not like, there's no gold. Like for me, there's always, this is what I learned from my mentor, and then we'll wrap up. We'll end the call after this. My mentor, who reads a book a day, right? He reads multiple books a day because I obviously worked with him, so I know exactly what he did. But he is always sharing that, there's millions and millions of books. You cannot read all the millions of books in your own lifetime. So you have to sift and shift through all the books that you align with, that you're picking gold from, and that you can revisit as a best friend. You pick the books. These are books on the website. These are the books that if I had to revisit because they're a friend, I look at them as a friend. Like they have information for me. They have the puzzle pieces that I'm looking for, that I'm missing. I revisit the book, because there's gold in these books. So you only have to have a selection of a list of library of books that you'll revisit over and over. Every now and then you'll find a book of gold that you add to this list. But that's what I'm doing. That's the concept, okay? So all these books that I have here, it's because these are the books that I will reference over and over again. If you listen enough times to Fire Hour, you start to like hear like what we're saying. You're gonna see that there's a lot of references to several books, because I'm not just spitting things that I learned just from my own experience. I'm spitting things I have received from people that have been at bigger levels than me, right? I'm learning from billionaires. I'm learning from people who've changed history. I'm learning from people who've gone through hell and back. I'm learning from all the people that I can learn from as a leader, as someone that needs to, I'm committed. Again, I'm committed to growing. I'm committed to getting to become the best version of myself. I'm committed to changing the world through our mission. Well, guess what? Who do I need to become in the process? What type of leader do I need to be in order to impact the world globally? What do I need to be? Who do I need to be? That's where I'm going. Does that make sense? I know where I'm going. So that's why I know the work that needs to be done. And I'm still learning about more of the work that needs to be done. I'm consistently refining myself every single day. That's what a leader does, right? So again, these books will be here. I'm consistently, constantly adding value, adding the libraries, adding the books, no matter what. And I'm shifting to Audible. You're gonna start to see more Audible books on here. And as I start to have make more time to really clean it up, boom, it's gonna be there. Okay, so check it out. And if you have a recommendation or if you have a question, right, that just ask. Just send in the chat or in the comments or wherever, right? Just ask, get the questions, send out those questions, enlist that help. Send out all the questions. If you have a question, ask. Always ask. There's no harm in asking. Thank you guys so much for today. I needed to hear this. We are very happy and grateful that is the information that we received, the feedback we received, okay? Every single episode on Fire Hour, it's meant to transform some aspect of your life. The overarching aspect is wealth in all aspects of life. Health, wealth, love, happiness, every single thing, family, relationships, your business, your mindset, your personal development, every element of your life. Let's cover it on Fire Hour. Let's make these leaps and bounds, move the needle forward 1% better every single day, every single episode of Fire Hour. If you are not getting better, how can we improve, right? How can we get to that next level? What do we need to talk about? What do we need to discuss? What do we need to read? What do we need to listen to? Who do we need to surround ourselves with? What do we need to do in order to break through those growing pains and get to the next level? All right. We love you all. I hope you have an amazing day. Crush it, dominate your path, and we'll see you on the next Fire Hour episode. All right. Peace out.
Love you guys.
Love you all. Bye. Nice. Good job.
You good job.